Hello, everyone. Good to see you again. Welcome to day 3 of My Dog is My Home's Conference 2025. Why Pets? Why Now? The Urgency of Inclusion. My name is Christine Kim. I am the founder of My Dog is My Home, and I am your MC for the day. As we're all settling in, please feel free to drop in the chat your own welcome greeting. Also, as a reminder, if you're in need of any tech assistance during your time with us on Whova, please email support@whova.com. As we step into our final day together, I want to take a moment to reflect on some of the topics we have explored. Yesterday was a powerful day full of hard truths, bold ideas, and real-world strategies for making pet inclusion a reality. From learning about the commitment you make to real change when you invite survivors to the table, not just to receive, but to lead services, to the connection between international migration, displacement, and animal companionship, we continue to push the conversation forward. We started the day with Ryan Smith, whom you all witnessed embrace his own story, his voice, and his power for creating change. We covered topics like changing the housing system to protect unhoused young people's relationships with pets and co-housing solutions in domestic violence sheltering. And we're very grateful to our presenters for bringing us this important content. And we also learned about the incredible work of the Arizona Pet Project and their partnership with the UMOM Day Center, Arizona's largest shelter for single women and families. These are just a few things that we covered yesterday. If you didn't catch everything you wanted to catch yesterday, don't worry. The sessions were recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing in Whova for up to 3 months after the conference ends. Just give us a week or two to post everything to Whova after the conference. As I mentioned during our closing yesterday, I hope you all got a good night of rest because today is equally, if not more eventful than yesterday. Today, we have thought leaders joining us for a conversation on housing, workforce development, and public policy, including Joy Moses, Vice President of Research and Evidence at the National Alliance to End Homelessness, Dr. Quan Stewart, veterinarian and founder of Project Street Vet, New York State Senator Monica Martinez, and our very own Jillian McMillian, cat enthusiast, homeless advocate, and board member of My Dog is My Home. This is just a highlight of what we have in store today. I'd also like to remind people to please vote in our Whova photo contest. Remember, the people who submit the top 5 photos with the most votes gets a special prize, which is a free ticket to next year's conference. So don't wait too long to cast your vote. Voting closes at 3 p.m. Eastern Time today. And as a tease, we have a few slides to show you who is in the final running. So first, we have a photo from Jennifer Smith of this very adorable and snug Chihuahua with 6 votes. And also with 6 votes, Thomas Smith relaxing with their buddy there. And also with 6 votes, Steve Marrero's photo of who appears to be the cutest pit bull with a dinosaur stuffed animal there. So these 3 might be semi-finalists at the moment, but it's a tight race and anything could happen between now and 3 p.m. So please continue to post and vote and tune in at the end of the day for our closing session for final announcements on the winner. So now for our first trivia questions and prizes of the day, our winners will have the option to pick between one of 3 of our highly coveted prizes, a special edition Urgency of Inclusion enamel pin, a My Dog is My Home sticker pack, or a bag of specialty coffee from our International Coffee Hour partner, Demitas Coffee. So everyone, get yourselves ready to answer in the Whova chat. Go ahead and take a moment to open that up there. Get yourself situated and ready to answer. So the first question, what was the first U.S. county to fund co-sheltering programs for people and their pets experiencing homelessness? Was it A, Los Angeles County, California, B, the borough of Manhattan in New York City, C, Multnomah County, Oregon, or D, San Francisco County, California? Kayla Rosenberger. quick first answer and very much correct. Kayla, congratulations. In 2017, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority released the Crisis and Bridge Housing Accommodations for Animal Companions request for bids. The authority awarded 5 providers throughout Los Angeles County with funds to expand their animal accommodations, and those 5 providers were PATH, the Weingart Center, LA Family Housing, Proyecto Pastoral, and Volunteers of America Pomona. This was the first such government investment on the county level in co-sheltering people and pets that we are aware of. And we now have 8 years of emerging practices to draw upon because of it. So congratulations to Kayla for answering correctly. We will be in touch with you about your prize. So now for our second trivia question. So everyone get ready to answer in the chat again. Now for our second trivia question, which book featured at this year's conference tells the true story of a refugee family's journey with their beloved cat? I didn't even get through all the options, but Hillary, you are correct. Lost and Found Cat is the correct answer. So congratulations to Hillary. This year, the featured book based on a true story of her refugees family's journey with their cat is Lost and Found Cat, the true story of Kankush's incredible journey, which you can pick up through our bookshop.org link. So thank you for your participation, everyone. Hillary, we will be in touch with you about your prize as well. Now, I'd like for you all to welcome our moderator for the next part of the session. So please welcome back a familiar face, Shoshana Mostoller, as we enter our first lived expertise session of the day.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining for today's first lived experience session. My Dog is My Home views storytelling as a vehicle for community building, advocacy, and healing. People with lived experience are central to our movement to make change. And we at My Dog is My Home believe that we should listen to experts when creating programs and policy. By experts, I'm of course referring to people with lived experience of being unhoused with their companion animals. And today I'd like to welcome Chastity McCourt to share her personal story of homelessness and her relationship with her cat, Maui.
Hi guys.
Hi, Chastity. I'm just gonna introduce you real quick. Chastity is a single mother of 4. She graduated in 2020 with a bachelor's degree in social work and sociology. Despite adversity and circumstances that were dealt to her, she has strived to overcome and show others that they can be the hero of their own stories. She has struggled with mental illness, homelessness, domestic violence, loss, and grief. She currently works with the homeless population and has been involved in homeless services for the past 5 years. Her life partner is her tabby Maui, also known as Fat Daddy, whom she credits with being a big part of her personal growth and survival. I can't wait for Chastity to share her story, but I also want to take a moment to wish her a happy birthday because she had a birthday this week. So I would love to do a chatter fall for Chastity, much like we did at the first day of the conference. If everyone could take 10 seconds to open their Whova chat and write a happy birthday message for Chastity. Don't press send yet. Once we're done writing our messages, I'm going to give everyone a few seconds and we'll all press send at the same time so that she can see her happy birthday messages. Okay, let's send them. Oh my gosh, that's making me so happy. Look at all that. Happy birthday, Chastity. You're getting a ton of messages. So Chastity, are you ready to share your story with us?
Hey guys, so I'm going to start out with a poem because like many of us, we all find our outlets in different things. So this is called Society Flawed. Spick, wetback, greaser, beaner. Marginalized by the society for the color of my skin. You pretend to know me, but what do you really see? Do you see the world I left behind? Hiding as a teenager, watching as bullets ricocheted, interweaving between my father and brother. their lifeless corpses laying in puddles of crimson, while my mother begged us to flee El Salvador, holding me and my brother in a tight embrace, salt water dripping from eyes upon our cheeks into the mouths of desperation. The death squads will take no more sons and fathers. Traveling by boat, every noise making my heart jump, I cling onto my little brother, the last brother I have, climbing through the stench rat-infested sewers for freedom to breathe, freedom to survive. I am the product of a green card, his only daughter, born of two worlds but accepted by neither. I don't fit the image of a proper El Salvadorian woman. My skin doesn't fit the American image. Society has labeled my tan skin as a sin. Damn Mexican, you say, but I am not Mexican. I am Mesoamerican. I am El Salvadorian. I am American, contrary to what you believe. Everyone who comes to this country is searching for a voice, opportunity, freedom, and safety. Their country does not provide. Why do we marginalize those who are different? We are a melting pot of culture, and yet society wishes to devour the souls of those who cling to opportunity. Call me what you will. Pretend you know me or my culture. Shame me, punish me, and penalize me. For who am I? But before you look down on me, realize this. My skin is tan. My eyes are brown. My hair dark. But I am far more than just my appearance. I belong here. I am American and a wetback, and proud of it. So build your wall, but we will still be here. Freedom is worth the fear. My story is a little bit different from some that we've heard over this, so I'm going to begin. It's your reaction to adversity, not adversity itself, that determines how your life story will develop. Dieter F. Uldorf. All before I ever became homeless, I had experienced so much in my life. My family had lived in and out of hotel rooms and with others. DFS, Department of Family Services, had already become involved in our lives. My brother had been placed in foster care for a factor that wasn't even my mother's fault. He had caught failure to thrive syndrome caused by a parasite in the Colorado drinking water. My mother's mental health had started to deteriorate, and she began dating abusive men. I watched my mother take a steel-toe boot to the head by a man who right after took me out for ice cream like nothing had happened. He wasn't the only man I would watch beat my mother, just the first. I watched her get verbally abused over and over again till she had no confidence in herself. I watched not only her diminish mentally, but physically. Losing my brother took a toll on both of us. But when we got him back, my mental health was not the same. He wasn't the same little brother that had left me. I started to self-harm. And then I too, even though I had swore not to, started dating risky men. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in high school and spent most of my sophomore and junior year in and out of psych wards for suicide attempts. I don't think I really ever wanted to actually kill myself. I think it was just a plea for help. My mental health was just so bad. My real first long relationship was my most abusive and ended with my biggest heartbreak. I had given birth to a beautiful baby girl on April 24th, 2007. And on July 2nd, 2007, I lost her to SIDS. So I'd already experienced overwhelming grief. In 2009, I gave birth to my second child, who was born with a spinal defect. I didn't even know if he was ever going to walk. In 2011, I started my relationship with my 3 younger kids' dad, named Jacob. I was so codependent on him. He controlled every aspect of my life. In 2016, I lost my biggest supporter and my ultimate hero, my mother, which led me to the work I do today. She is the only reason I'm probably the social worker I am. Up until that point, I had went into the Department of Education. But it is okay to change your dreams, and I am so glad I did. In 2020, COVID hit and was actively in full swing. I was working at a shelter and in the process of completing my practicum of social work. I was the only member of our household making money, yet our bills still were never getting paid. Jake controlled every aspect of my life. I didn't drive due to horrible anxiety from past trauma. So naturally, he handled all appointments, paying bills, making sure we all got from point A to point B. And when I say knowledge is power, I truly mean it. See, I was making money, but our utilities were still getting shut off. We were still going without food. Bills still weren't getting paid. I was getting told I needed to work more because we weren't making enough money. I had a mentor who took me to get my bank statements. Her name was Sheila. Because in Jake's eyes, that was something that was none of my business. I didn't have no rights to even know what my own money was spending or what was paying. And to my surprise, the reason bills were not getting paid was because I was paying dating sites like Meet Me and Plenty of Fish. That day, my mentor, Sheila, showed me how to set up my own bank account. That was the first step to my independence and my freedom. With the realization that he no longer had the financial control, we began fighting every day. The fighting and the stress took a toll on my mental health. And with the untreated bipolar disorder, my mental health began to deteriorate. My untreated bipolar got the best of me, and I had a mental breakdown. I woke up and decided to leave. It was like a fog. I didn't feel like myself. I didn't understand at the time that with the bipolar, you can just get so bad that you disassociate yourself from your life. And that's what I had done. Jacob paraded my children out to me and told them mommy was picking the streets over them and that I didn't care about them. Watching them cry to me and leaving them was the hardest decision I of my life. I didn't know where I was going to go because I had no one. I had lost my mom and no person the one person that had all the answers, and she was gone. I wanted my children, but I couldn't take them with me. And so I walked, and I just kept walking. And when it got late and I felt so lost, I gave in and I asked to come back. And he said no. I had picked my bed and now I needed to lie in it. There I was, now on the streets and faking it to make it. Not sleeping because I was just walking. Bathing where I could, sometimes just trying to wash up at work. Telling my boss our washer was broke so I could wash the few things I had. I was too embarrassed to tell anyone what was going on. I was going to school to become a social worker. I worked with the homeless population, and now here I was one. I was on the streets for 2 weeks before I met a guy named Tim. He was recently housed individual, and he had noticed the signs and asked what was really going on and offered me a place to sleep. He was battling his own demons, but he had given me a place to battle mine. We met on the streets, and I will forever be thankful for that open door he gave me. I started seeking help for my bipolar. The medication for the bipolar was a game changer. At first, I didn't really notice the effects, but after a while, it felt like the fog had been lifted. It felt like I was living in a movie most of my life, and for the first time, I was able to start functioning within my own life. However, things were getting rocky at Tim's, as there was drugs coming in and out of the place. So as grateful as I was, I knew it was a place I could no longer stay. So after about 3 months, I returned home to the house that I shared with Jake. He was quick to help me get into an apartment so that he could start having his now girlfriend that I wasn't supposed to know about over again. In August, I moved into my own place, and it was rough. I had never been alone in my life. I missed my kids terribly. The depression was eating away at me. Jacob was refusing to let me have them or even see them without sleeping with him. Even when I had mentioned this to his girlfriend, I was the liar, the crazy one. I even started to believe it myself. I started drinking during the days, and it was like I was seeing this other side of me in the mirrors that I didn't recognize. And so out of shame, I started covering all the mirrors up in the apartment. I was truly losing myself, and I didn't know if I was going to make it. Due to the drinking, I stopped taking the medications for the bipolar. And since I'm diabetic, my sugars were all over the place. My grades were slipping and I just kept spiraling. I didn't want to exist in a world where my babies weren't with me. My oldest son had chosen to stay with his siblings because he didn't want to be apart from them and because it hurt him to see mom cry so much. One day, Tim and I were driving past Jacob's house, and my stepdad lived 2 houses down, and outside of his house in a kennel was this big tabby cat crying and huddled in a corner. Tim got out of the car and asked my dad's girlfriend what was wrong with the cat, and she said that the owner had died and they had given this cat to her, but she didn't know what to do with it. They had dogs and the cat wasn't liking those dogs. So they were just going to probably take him to the pound. My friend looked at me and that was it. He loaded up Maui and Maui came to be with me. When I say that Maui saved my life, he truly did. We were both there, broken, searching for a family, feeling betrayed and not fully understanding what was going on with ourselves. Those first couple of days, he just sat there and watched me, and then slowly he would wait until I was asleep, and he would start sleeping on the bed with me. And before I knew it, we were doing everything together. On one of the worst nights, the depression really got to me, and I took too many of my sleeping pills. I curled up with my son's blanket and I cried and I prayed. I couldn't do it anymore. I needed a sign. I needed someone to care. I wondered often how many days would it take for someone to find me if I had just died. I needed my babies. I needed my mom. That night I went to bed thinking I would never wake up again. I woke up to a bundle of fur nuzzled next to me, protecting me and watching me. There was my Maui. He meowed at me, and for a minute we just stared at each other. He cared. He needed me as much as I needed him. We had both lost our families, but had found each other. I stopped drinking. He didn't like the smell of the alcohol. I started taking my medications again, and the blankets came down from the mirrors. He began to know my schedule, and he would greet me when I got home. Things started to look up. I kept moving forward with my faith, and every day Maui continued to bring me back to a place of mental stability. Events led to me getting the kids permanently. I graduated Missouri Western with a bachelor's in social work and sociology in 2020. I was given the Woman of Excellence Award Emerging Leader in 2021. I bought my first house at the end of 2023, and I worked 2 jobs. I have been with InterServe and Community Missions for the past 5 years serving our homeless community in various aspects, and I also work for Choices doing in-home healthcare. Service to others is a quality I have learned that I have as my mother did. Small tidbit, I recently found a picture of my mom volunteering and serving a meal at the Haven House where I work several years later. It's funny that this place has become such a big part of my life. Every day that I'm home, my fat daddy's, Maui, is there for his cuddles and to greet me. Some may say they are just pets, but Maui is my life partner. He is in tune to my needs. He knows when I'm upset or when I'm sick. I can also say he also approves of my current guy, who has helped me set healthy boundaries and has been so different from any relationship I've ever been in. And we are now heading on 3 years of dating, and we're taking things slow. We have also incorporated a few new fur babies into my children's lives as well. With all the adversity and trauma I have experienced, I could have ended up dead, beaten continuously, in a never-ending cycle, addicted to drugs, living on the streets. Being a single mother has made me feel so much closer to my mother, to understand all the sacrifices and things she endured for us children. We are not defined by our circumstances or by what has happened to us. I had to stop being the victim and realize that there is power inside of me. I had to educate myself so that I could make hard decisions, to realize that I was part of my own destruction. I needed help. Now my goals are that one day we will all have a shelter where my clients can be with their life partners too, as I can't picture my life without my Maui. To have a community that supports those wraparound services that truly cares for their community, whether homeless or not. Has it been easy? Hell no. But is it worth it? Every day. And
Okay.
I would like to show you guys my family, my fur family.
Chastity, are you going to share those slides or do you? Okay.
Yeah. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
So this is Fat Daddy, Maui, and he's always protective. He's my life partner. This is my son's life partner, Spaz. All of our animals are rescues. Spaz came to us this winter. She found my son, actually. We think she was abandoned under the porch, and her mom left her thinking she was going to die. And this is Furiosa. She was lost inside of a car engine for 3 days, malnutritioned, and we brought her in. And then this is Rowan. This is my brother's life partner. She was a trucker's dog who was bullied by 2 other dogs. So she's a little skittish, but she's doing great. And that is our family. And then we've also incorporated another cat recently. But does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I would actually love to start. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing your story. I do want to remind people who are watching that we do have help available if someone's struggling with the content. There was definitely a lot of content in there that could be difficult for people. So don't forget that Nicole Armstead Williams is available. You can send her a direct message if you're struggling with anything that you heard. Thank you. And also, yeah, if you have questions for Chastity, please put them in the Whova Q&A. But I wanted to start in the times that we've been speaking. One of the things that you really stressed were certain people along your journey whose help were really invaluable to you, even starting from as early as high school. I would love for you, and later on you also mentioned your mentor, Sheila. I would love for you to just discuss some of the people who really helped you along the way to get to where you are now.
So, one of the number one factors I want to say, and I really didn't give her enough credit because, short timing, was my mother. So even in high school, because of my mental health, they tried to kick me out several times because I did spend so much time in and out of psych wards. And my mom fought very hard for education. My father, coming from El Salvador, only had a 5th grade reading level. And my mom, she didn't graduate college, but she did high school. And so education was always very important to our family. So she fought. And I've often wondered if she wasn't the mom she was, if she had just been like, yeah, you know what, they can kick her out. Would I have been here? And then I had librarians that, cared, people that cared, had Timmy not given me a place off the streets, would I have been, hurt? Would I have been battered? Would I, we working with the girls I work on the streets now, I've seen some of the really horrible cases. Had Sheila not taken me to go find out about my bank account, and I had just accepted the fact that, oh, maybe the money's just disappearing, would I've ever known any different? Would I have just continued to be complacent? So, my biggest thing in this field is, being that one person. Be that one person that's like, can I help? What can I do today to make someone's life better? Because maybe you are that one person that's listening, that one person that's saying, don't give up. Knowledge is power.
Yeah. I'm thinking about yesterday's storytelling when we got a lot of information about what people can do to be helpful. So for people who are watching, what are things that you think that people should take into account that they could be doing for other people to help when someone's struggling?
I kind of wrote it down, but I can't find it now. When Ryan was talking about, noticing that a person is a person. I think that especially in my community here, we don't get supported. The homeless community is not supported here. And so a lot of them are disregarded. And I think at the end of the day, even some of us kind of we take a lot of things for granted. And like he was saying, we're more than change. And that's the thing that, I pride myself on is be the change you want to see in the world. So a little act of kindness goes a long way, and sometimes just sitting down, like my old boss, she would go sit outside on the curb and she would just sit next to the next homeless person. She would say, "Hey, what can I do for you today?" And sometimes it was just listening, but realizing that they are human, that we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all have needs, you know, and just giving your 5 minutes to somebody. What can I do? What's going on with you today? How is your day going?
Where you are now is incredible, right? You have a degree in social work and sociology. Does that ever surprise you now? Like when you were going through it, did you ever think like this is you, because you were in school for quite a long time with the special ed originally. I want to say it's like 13 years
Yes.
of schooling while you were like kind of working your way through all of this. I mean,
Yeah.
do you ever look back now and feel surprised at where you are?
I
Amazing.
do. And I kind of thought about it for a long time. Like I was the running joke for the longest time. Even my kids were like, "We're gonna graduate college before you do, Mom." And I mean, my oldest is 15. So like they were never expecting mom to graduate. But I think that's what it was, is, I was in the education department and in my life, like I've always been that, like that role. Even as a little kid, I've always wanted to be in the service of others, but I just never had that calling. And so I wanted to be a sped teacher. But I feel like the reason I procrastinate, and I don't want to say procrastinate, maybe I just mentally it wasn't for me, is I never had that calling. And it wasn't until mom passed away and I realized that there's no funding out there. There's no way to help you bury somebody that doesn't have like the funds. And there was no way I was going to let my mom be disposed of in a humane manner. That was my mom, my best friend in the whole world. So what do you do for families that have no help? And so, I feel like that in a sense, it all worked out in the way it was supposed to. And I mean, it took me 4 years versus 13. You go where you want to go. And I feel like that was my calling.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it can take a long time to find your calling for sure.
Yeah.
One of the things is you started your story with a lot of descriptions of past trauma. And I would love for you to just kind of explain how you think the trauma that you had before you even experienced your stint of homelessness, how that affected the decisions that you made in your life.
So, growing up, I feel like domestic violence has always kind of been in my life. With the relationship with my father, my own biological father, and then watching my mom, of course, um, go through this episode with men as well. And so, growing up, I was like, I'm never going to date an abusive man. That's just never what I'm going to do. I'm never going to accept that. I'll beat him up myself. But, if that's the only love you see, you begin to think that is love. So I feel like in its own way, that's what I believed love was. Because that's all I ever seen. So I didn't really have a clue. Like, other than that, as a little girl, we grow up and we see Cinderella and we see stories like that, and they're not realistic either. So it's like you have this warped image of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And then when you add mental health on there because you're already dealing with trauma, you know, you don't ever get that fog removed. So it's just a warped image of what love is. And then you look at the perspective. My mom always believed that, those who those who have had trauma, we tend to attract those who have trauma too, you know, because we want to seek out those who can understand and relate to us.
Hmm.
And so that was her thought process. Mine was, the fog is that we kind of felt, for me, I felt like that was what I viewed as love, because that's the only love I'd ever seen, I'd accepted that as love. And it wasn't. It was some toxic bull.
There's a question in the Q&A that I would love to, it's going to be the only question that we have time to take from the audience, but I think it is a great question, so I'm just going to throw it out here. I would love to know how we can best support the bipolar community as a friend, an ally, and a worker.
I'm gonna say that be understanding, and help those understand that it's okay. So I didn't even know much about bipolar until I started taking classes, and started actually researching it. I didn't know you could disassociate yourself from your life. That was huge. So my whole life, I just thought there was something wrong with me. And then when I up and left my kids, like I was like a horrible parent. Like I had so much guilt. And honestly, I did the right thing. So, be supportive, be understanding, be patient, be patient. That is probably the biggest one because there's those until they start getting treatment or start seeking assistance and help, they're going to have those swings that are going to be highs and lows. And some days are going to be worse than the others. And they're not going to understand why you're so upset with it. Because you're going to be upset, but the next day they're on a high, it's not going to compute with them because they're going to be like, oh, I upset you, but I love you. It's very, it's just very back and forth. So be patient, be supportive, definitely, encourage them to, seek out maybe therapy or seek out recreational, like start writing poetry. Just be that like outlet if they need you to be. But definitely patience is a big one, because it's going to be rough. It'll definitely be rough, especially if they're a loved one.
Chastity, thank you so much for sharing your story and also for the amazing work that you're currently doing to help people who are experiencing homelessness. Your story is a really important reminder of how important it is to feel accepted and included. And I really appreciate you sharing with us the actionable steps that we can take to support other people. Thank you all for joining us for Chastity's story. Our next session is a panel discussion called Partnership and Innovation During a Workforce Crisis. For this session, we'll be joined by Joey Moses from the National Alliance to End Homelessness and also Dr. Quan Stewart of the Project Street Vet. To attend the next session, please leave this session and go back to the agenda in Whova. You'll then need to enter the next session, which begins at 9:45 a.m. Pacific time and 12:45 p.m. Eastern time. So I'll see you all at the next session.